friends and family, what's going on? I want to share something that kind of happened today and something that's on my mind. Right quick, it's the evening, so I have my sweater on, but I want to show Roger that today, for the first time, I wore the Opeth t-shirt that you gave me. Just killer. I just love it. Thank you so much, Roger. But I chill easily, and so I got my sweater on in the evening. But the weather has finally broken across the United States, many places. And here in Omaha was the second day of 70-degree weather, and it was also the second day that my car is running again. So I was out and about today, and I want to share something, that's social. It's got social meaning. Here's a picture I took, and I'm showing it to you. Here is me today with a police officer at my local grocery store. I don't know his name. He's a beat cop, but he also does, he picks up extra money doing shifts at the grocery store as a security guard. And so I'm a familiar face. Well, what was the tenor of events occurring daily in America and the way that the events are being portrayed in the media, the slant that the media is taking, the way that it is fomenting this unrest? I feel the need to do something, And for those of you that follow me on Facebook, and I'm sure some of you do, this morning I started my day with a pledge to myself that I was going to be a positive everywhere I go. And just by doing that, that sparked me on the idea of taking pictures. I do a lot of selfies, with people, taking pictures with other people. And so the idea occurred to me to try to do some selfies with some policemen, after talking to them, And here's what I'm trying to portray, say. There's a lot to be said, so I hope I can get it out. The current racial scenario that is being thrust in the faces of Americans. It's not that this is really truly the tenor of relationships. It's what's being pushed down our throats. People really are being set against each other, the police versus the people. Not that it's not a real problem, but that one of the things I see is that for the purpose of, again, from my perspective, for the purpose of profit, they're selling news that bleeds, that keeps you riveted to the TV, and with a blind eye to the fact that while you're profiting from this programming, you're just fanning the flames of the problem. Sometimes it makes you wonder, does somebody really want this problem? And I do think that there are those that do. But anyway, back to the officer, I stopped before I left. I saw him in the parking lot, and I went up to him and said, I just wanted to ask you, how's it going? I bet it's really tough now being a policeman. And he says, man, it just totally sucks, And I said, well, I had this idea, that can I take my picture with you? Because it's like somebody needs to show people that we're humans, that when we talk one-on-one humanely, we can get somewhere. But shouting at each other and throwing rocks and getting upset, in groups, it's not that shouldn't happen. It's just that is not going to lead to solutions. And part of the problem with that is that so much of what is disseminated by the media, and I'm speaking generally, but it seems that a lot of what is pushed by the media are assumptions, and perceptions that are persistent but not necessarily true, which I think is poisonous. It may indeed sell. It may cause ratings, but it's part of the problem. There's so much I want to say. The long-standing history of racism that is born out of elitism, from my perspective, because that's where it's still coming from. It's not that common people don't have racism, but it seems to be built in with elitism and the notion that this Aryan thing. You know what I mean? Albert Pike, who started the Ku Klux Klan, was a very, very high Mason. I mean, put it together. I put it together. I mean, someone's good. Someone will come along and try to tell me, "Oh, that's not really it." Bull fucking shit. It's as plain as my finger moving around. White supremacist started the Ku Klux Klan that was murderous to my people, and he's a high-ranking Mason whose statue and his body is enshrined in the capital of this country. That tells you where to me, the true problem of societal and systemic racism, where it doesn't die. I mean, on a real lower level of thinking, it was assumed that, well, we're going to get a black president. Back when it happened, first term, I knew that didn't mean shit. I also knew that the fact that we were going to have this token black president was going to bring all this shit up to the surface to show where we really are, which is we still have a huge problem with backwards, I call it backwards notions about other humans. And because of the systemic nature of it coming from the top down, that's where I see the direct injection into the police force because of the connection to power, okay? It's a problem that so many policemen who are good people get caught up in the negativeness because they want to protect their paycheck and they have a family to feed and I got to keep my job. So if I say something, I rock the boat. I'm sure that's part of why decent policemen haven't been coming more to the fore. I've worked with the police as a mental health specialist in the last few years of my job. I did training with, and I was also in planning meetings and discussions with community, trying to supposedly talk about policing issues. It was bullshit. I was in those meetings myself. I saw what went on. Nothing. The exchange of power, people blow power. If they even have to acknowledge you for a photo op, they'll do that. But we mean nothing. I hope you're still following me because I'm still getting back to the picture with the cop, okay? And that cop, I don't know him personally, but I'm going to bet you he's a decent cop and tries to do his job, okay? I bet you there's a lot of decent cops. I bet you there's a lot of cops who aren't so decent who would be decent if we could get to them, and if we could try and break through the crust of the old way of thinking and doing. I'm being very general here, but that's the idea behind taking this picture and thinking about, trying to seek out more police, take more pictures and put them online, after talking to the police, to say, this is my idea. It's like one of the things that we've got to show each other is that we're humans, we're at this point with the media and the way that it plays with words and images is that we don't, in a general sense, we're not seeing the groups as humans. We see these cops and we see these poor people, a lot of them Hispanic and black and dark skinned, and so it's this us versus them scenario and way of thinking that is being constantly fed, whereas individual contact, which I'm gonna do, I started it today, I'm gonna do some more, by saying, we've got to reach each other. This is out of control, and we're not going to get any sweeping changes through law. That's not the answer. Protesting, it will happen. It's good that it happens, and yet because of the times and because of the intensity of the issues, everything is so emotionally charged, and so things are constantly reeling out of control. People that give a fuck, like I'm going to say myself, we need to do what we think might be effective in helping to change the dialogue. It can be a long process, but I'd rather do this than run for a political office. In my opinion, because of the corruption and the broke-downness of the political system, that would be a waste of time. This is more direct, going directly to the people. I want to share that, the policeman was genuinely relieved to talk about this with me, And when I asked to take my picture with him, he put his arm around my shoulder first, okay? Now, for you folks that follow me on Facebook, go and look at this picture is on my page, and dozens of people have shared it. So it's doing something. It's having a ripple effect. Look at the conversation. Look at the content of what people are saying. I've had one person so far, a young person who follows me who I don't personally know. I had him, and you can read his comment, where he makes an emotionally charged comment that smears all police, saying that all cops are bad, and I very calmly addressed it and responded to it, saying it is time for cooler heads to prevail. The problem is that we have this emotional response, and by painting a wide swath of negativeness on all police, we're not helping anybody. We've got to find a way to effectively start to change the dialogue and the message. I don't think that we can count on the media to do this, because they're bought and paid for by the elite. I think there's about 6 huge companies, mega companies, corporations that own all of the media in America. So, and it's also really obvious when you watch the news and you watch what they present as news, as well as the garbage that they push down your throat to watch and be distracted with, but the media is owned and they're told what to say, and they can't help us right now. So I wanted to share that, It's up to us. And it's up to us. It's up to us. And I can imagine there's any number of people who will watch this who will be having seething, angry thoughts about what I'm not, or angry reactions, And you have a right to your anger, and anger is part of life, and it can serve a purpose. But if the anger is just negative and it's not towards building something, what is that about? I get angry, but I try to do a little something to help. And the parts of me that aren't able to help, I try to keep that out of the way. You know what I'm saying? I thought this was worth sharing. And I'm glad that people online are sharing the picture. I hope it goes viral. I plan to try and do it again. kind of naturally when I encounter the police, because you do encounter them. So I intend to do this again, hopefully tomorrow. It's one thing that I can do to try and break through this mad, hysterical setup that we're dealing with, that the media is feeding into. The unrest is real. The deaths are real. The police state is here. Police shooting people in response. The naked man being shot and killed. Come on, you know what I'm saying? Here's another thing I understand from being a social worker and working with the police. As well as these ingrained and old prejudices that are propagated by certain people in society as well as in the police. Besides that, in the police, when you're doing police work, when you're doing social work, you're dealing with situations and people. And a lot of times, I just had a conversation about a month or so ago with a policeman about this, and we agreed. You deal with so many repeat situations where it's the same family, the same people, the same mad situation, that after a while, because of the inanity of how these people are living, it's like you detach, because it's, oh no, here again, and it's like, nothing ever gets resolved. People don't learn, and I understand that dealing with that aspect of it does also feed into, I think it potentially feeds into how the cops are like this now. But I also think that behind the scenes that they're being indoctrinated to do this. I can't prove it, but it looks like it to me. It's open season on poor people. Notice I said poor, not black. So I'm tired of that shit too, because that's, again, more of this stuff where people say, oh, well, there's those people with their agenda. Well, there you are with your agenda. My agenda is simple. It's human. I just want to live. I just would like to help make the world a better place. So I said, it seems like it's war on poor people, okay? Of course, the numbers are staggering when you look at the statistics of the disproportion of blacks and dark-skinned people that are in the system and all of that. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line that I see is that it is an us versus them situation that's being fed. It is the elite saying, well, we got to build walls around our communities. We got to protect our goods and our cars and our pretty wives, and these people, it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's certain training going on where people are being portrayed as zombies, and that's why it's easier. That's what I see, that we're already seeing the result of this change or this thinking, which is people aren't even people, they're fucking zombies. They're on drugs, they're on crack, they're hoes, they're criminals, they're perpetrators, they're not deserving of better treatment. I can see where that scenario is going on in many heads and many police departments. And so it's a big complicated ball of shit. But to me, the long-term solution is a very hard-earned, hard-won solution, which is one by one getting back to being human and discovering each other. I think it's going to be really tough because, and this is another one, I'm almost done, where I'm going to indict the education system. Of course, parents are responsible for raising their kids and teaching them values, but I can remember when I noticed that even in the 70s when the tenor of the, well, actually, it was when I went from the private all-boys school where I saw white privilege and the reality of it. When I went to a public school and I saw what the teachers were up against, you know, and how it was already a disaster. What I'm getting at is that part of what I see the problem is with people in general is that because the education system, the bottom fell out so long ago, we have several generations of people who many people are not good processing thinkers. They were not taught to process, think, weigh options, balances. You know what I'm saying? We see a lot of reactions. People talk like the television, like media. Whatever the catchphrase is what the thing that you hear people saying. Because of the ubiquitousness of computers, internet, and games, people's attention span is so short that the reasoning that is needed to calm things down so we can discuss, it's a challenge now because a lot of people, it appears to me, this is a real, they don't know how to do it, you know, no one taught them, you know, and there's not much examples of it being shown to people, you know. I hope I'm getting across even an nth of what I'm trying to say. This is definitely as important. This is more important to me than talking about my records, okay? You know, last year, as I was talking about 2015 coming up and how last year was an interesting, weird year, I said to people, and I remember saying to you, Roger Coleman, if you remember this, you watch what happens in 2015. You think 2014 was weird. Watch what the fuck happens in 2015. And sure enough, look at it. If it isn't Ebola or planes missing or this police violence or this total corruption of the government, the abuse of executive order, the complete disconnect of the elite who own everything from even the president. It's like, well, you know, I'm going to say it out loud. These people are saying it behind his head. Oh, we don't give a fuck about that nigger. Shit. We own everything. We'll do what the goddamn fuck we want, you know. Wait till we get one of our boys back in there. Then we'll set the presidency back up like it's supposed to be, you know. But it's meaningless. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it looks to me, okay? Make no mistake that I am not about hating on people or a group of people. What I am disappointed with is behavior, thought patterns, ideas that are self-serving to a small group and very destructive to a lot. That's what I'm against, okay? Let me be clear about that. We need more clarity from people. You know, I'm constantly turning on different news channels because it's just, I can't help it. And I just listen to how everything is just not straight. You don't get straight talk. And how there's an agenda behind everything, you know. And our leaders are after something. They're not trying to solve anything. So that's why I'm doing something by talking to cops. Cops are people. We're people. We got to find a way to get back to each other.